They were going to let him go. They did that whole thing where, hey, we're going to cut this guy, and they wait for the phone to ring, and then they worked out a trade.
Yeah.
And the trade can't go through now because he tore his ACL while working away from the facility. It makes no sense whatsoever, but here's what does make sense. No $2.183 million this year for DaeSean Hamilton. So he joins that short list league-wide, two guys from the same team, Juwan James, DaeSean Hamilton. Worst case scenario of what happens when you work out on your own away from the team facility.
Hey, this is still, the what do they say? The shock reverberations or whatever. It's still going through the league from the player standpoint. I mean, it's amazing. I think that how few, like I've talked to a few coaches around the league that they're shocked with how few people and players on their team actually knew about this type of stuff. I mean, it's a real thing. Hey, I'll say it right here. Drew Brees was in the building here, right, the other day, right? Drew Brees, I'm hanging out with him. We're talking ball. We're talking about a bunch of different things. Tirico brings up the Juwan James situation, all right? And Drew, I said this because he knew I'm going to say this on the air, but he was even unaware that you're working out for football outside the facility that they could take the money away from you. So my point is,
that's because they never would have done it to him.
I know they never do it to
him.
the stars. You're right. They don't do it to Terrell Suggs when he's like a defensive player of the year and playing basketball. You're right, but still, nonetheless, the point is though, Drew Brees is a NFL lifer and has a lot of knowledge of the NFLPA and the union and all those type of things. And that's just it's a major tidbit that's in fine print that players just don't know about. They don't know. They're caught off guard, and I'm shocked by it. I really am, and I think that's one thing where leadership messed up a little bit for sure. There should have been more of a big red email or FedEx package that said, if you get hurt, you don't get paid outside the facility. So I just found that fascinating for Drew Brees, right?
I know that they got that warning. You know who the Broncos players got that warning from? They got it from the Broncos.
Yeah, they were
given voluntary options for workout programs that they could engage in on their own with, in red letters and underlined, the team is not responsible for any injuries you sustain working out away from the facility. And, I've heard from a lot of fans, and fans are just wired to be anti-player, and that bugs me to no end. Folks, these are the people who make the game go. These are the people who are out there taking the physical risks, taking the risks cognitively that they're going to have long-term issues when they are older, more likely than the general population, to develop dementia and other cognitive brain problems. But be that as it may, the feedback is, hey, if I get injured away from work, nobody pays me. I only get workers' compensation if I suffer an injury on the job. And there is some basic logic and appeal to that. And I look at it this way. If you are going to do the things that your strength coach has told you to do, these are the workouts you should do. And you got a place where all the stuff is there for you to do those workouts. And you know that if you get injured there, your surgery's covered, your rehab's covered, your salary's covered. If you're anyone other than a star whose position is secured and whose salary is going to be paid no matter what you do away from work, if you're in that broad category of guy who has to worry about what may happen to me if I do thumb my nose at the team and work out on my own and get injured, you just need to be in there.
Yeah, that's all there is to it. I mean, that's it. We've hit it. Yeah, okay.
But even with all that said, that's what makes it more impressive to me that the union has been able to leverage a better offseason one team at a time, because the teams could have just sat back and said, hey, go ahead, work out on your own. Go ahead, go ask Juwan James how that played out.
Right.
I'm glad to see the flexibility from the coaches who understand, you know what? Last year we didn't do crap in the offseason.
We'll take anything this
Guys
year.
worked out on their own.
Right.
And life went on.
Yeah.
The difference is going to be this, Chris. The teams that have the full and complete, no concessions, no reductions, no limitation offseason program are those teams going to be better?
That's what I look like. I look at New England and San Francisco right now, and it seems like the attendance is through the roof, and there's just not even a discussion about it. Because Shanahan and Belichick, and I'm just saying this is just two. I'm using an example. I know there's others out there, but they have guys on their team that are, psychos and love football, and that's the only guys they've drafted or signed to free agency, and that's how they build their teams there. You're right. I would think they're going to have an advantage. And really, I just wonder if this is going to change off-season workouts and everything going forward in general. I mean, obviously it is. But obviously, I think if the coaches want to, take back some power here and get the players back in the building, maybe this is what they got to do a little bit too, just to go, hey, okay, no more 11-on-11 drills, no 7-on-7. We could do 1-on-1, throw routes versus air, work our techniques and drills, do things like that. Maybe they're in the building a hair longer during the week during these times so they can have a little bit more of extended walkthroughs and 11-on-11 and 7-on-7 type stuff instead of it being full speed, and then you get the incidental contacts and people get hurt that way. Maybe that starts just a new approach to off-season training and football in general, which I wouldn't be opposed to. I think there's certainly some benefits to doing it that way.
Chris, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Not that I need to invite you to do it, but you were there for it. I remember back during the time that you were playing, I would hear all the time the complaint originating with the offensive and defensive linemen from off-season workouts, 11-on-11. They wanted to wear pads.
Yes.
Because they were getting hurt
right.
by helmets hitting their unprotected shoulders.
Yes.
Because it became full speed.
Exactly.
Without pads.
Right.
That's what those off-season practices were.
Well, think about it this way, right? You're doing 11-on-11, and yeah, everybody knows it's not full speed, but you still got a defensive line coach in the back that's going, hey, get through your gap, get down, get low, and he's trying to impress this guy, and maybe he's a young guy, so now he's going full speed, right? And now the left guard, who doesn't want to go full speed and doesn't want to get yelled at by his coach now, he's got to go harder because that guy's going harder. And then all of a sudden, it almost becomes like a contact, scrimmage without shoulder pads, and it does become dangerous. And there's no doubt. There was players back then that were like, no, I'd rather wear it because the walkthroughs or anything like that became a little too intense to what you're saying. So that's maybe where they got to get rid of that. The 7-on-7, you throw a ball over the middle, the safety in the corner and the wide receiver run into each other. Maybe they do away with all that, and they make it more individual and drill and walk-through based as they go forward.
You got the young guys trying to prove themselves, too. They got nothing to lose.
That's right.
They'll go ahead and risk injury with no pads on if it gets the coaches' attention. I remember Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, on with the program a couple of years ago when Aaron Donald was holding out, staying away from the offseason, trying to get his contract. Snead joked, it's kind of good not to have him here for the offseason because he blows up a walkthrough.
Right,
yeah.
right.
We can't do anything. Aaron Donald's on the field. He's throwing guys around. That's just what Aaron Donald does. So that's what football players do.
Yeah.
It's not like removing the battery from the Energizer Bunny to take the pads off of the football player. The football player still is the football player, regardless of how much protection he's wearing on his body.
Yeah, that's right, especially if he's a young one, too, like you said. That they're trying to prove, and they didn't do walkthroughs in college a whole lot. Like, yeah, you're 17. The hell with walking. We're gonna run. We're gonna run through. In the NFL, there's true walkthroughs, and like the young guys always have an issue adjusting to that. They're like, wait, we're really walking here, because they're still running around and doing that type of stuff. Let alone if it's a real 11-on-11 thing, then the intensity can get pretty intense, and yes, that can cause issues.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.